Hi, welcome everybody to another plugin review. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to walk through this plugin. It's a free plugin that's being offered free for a limited time, and that's the Cakewalk CA-2A. It's an LA-2A emulation, and as you probably know, there's tons of these out there, but this one is being offered for free right now, and it's a great plugin. It's normally $100. And you should go ahead and grab this while it's still free. I mean, you can't go wrong with a free plugin, right? So, since the LA-2A is like the easiest compressor to use on the planet, I'm gonna demonstrate, or I'm gonna walk you through this a little bit, and then compare it to the Waves emulation and a couple of the different UAD emulations. So, if you're watching this, you probably already know how an LA-2A works, but if you don't, I'll go and explain the few basic things that are going on here. So, first is your peak reduction, which is like your threshold. Some people get confused with this because you would think that the threshold would be on the left and then the makeup gain would be on the right, but on this particular compressor, it's actually backwards. So peak reduction is actually where you set how much compression you're going to have, and then gain is your makeup gain, essentially. So that's pretty much the majority of it. Then you have a compress and limit mode, which is just two different ratios. And then you have this high frequency detection. So you can choose how much high frequency is triggering the compressor. And I believe on the actual hardware, this was a mod. This wasn't something that came stock with it. And this particular emulation, it's kind of hidden, but there's an arrow here in the upper right corner, and you can activate the sidechaining as well as switch between the classic attack and release time and a fast release. So that's pretty neat because sometimes this compression is a little bit too slow for certain source material. But in my opinion, LA-2A really works great on bass and vocals. So that's what I have here for an example. So we'll go ahead and listen to this bass track dry, and then we'll listen to it with the Cakewalk LA-2A, and then we'll compare that to the Waves CLA-2A and the UAD LA-2A gray. So first dry, then those three. Okay, so let's just talk about what I heard there. So to me, this is a very good emulation, but to me, the winner for the bass guitar for me is this LA-2A Gray. It's just very, very fat, very, very smooth. It works very well on bass. This is pretty much my go-to compressor on any bass track besides maybe something like metal bass where it's distorted or something like that. But to me, for a free plugin, it holds its own, and it has that. It does have that characteristic and that tonality. It's just not quite as fat and rounded. One other thing I forgot to point out is that there's different metering options here, but I almost always keep it just on gain reduction because I want to see what the compressor's doing. I don't really care about the output settings very much. And then for the LA2 or CLA-2A, to me this is really great too, but this one for me works a little bit better on vocals than bass. It's real smooth, but it doesn't have that real fatness to it like the UAD one does. So to me, the Cakewalk is more similar to the Waves one, and if you ask me, that's actually pretty amazing that it can compare to this Waves one. I still like the Waves one a little bit more, but you know, this plugin is free, so you can't beat that. So if you want to go and get an LA-2A plugin, go and check that out. All right, now let's mute that and let's listen to a lead vocal. Okay, let's check that out.
Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Ooh, never let me go.
Okay, so let me start by saying that this bass sound and these vocals are just loops that are found here in Cubase. I did not record those. So for this example, once again, I do like the UAD one the most. To me, this gives what, when you hear about analog emulated plugins, you hear a lot of people talk about 3D imaging, and I can definitely hear that with this emulation. This is the LA-2A Silver, which is a little bit faster attack and release, and for me is my favorite on vocals. So my first favorite would be the UAD, but second, I would say my second favorite is actually the Cakewalk one. I actually liked the Cakewalk one on this source better than the Waves one. The Waves one had a very nice top end that it brought to it, but to me, this Cakewalk really filled out that vocal. It felt like I was running it through an actual pair of tubes, and the tubes were giving it some of that warmth and body. So that's something that I think is really great. The LA-2A was a little more transparent, a little more silky on the top. So I guess it depends on really what you like. Of course, I didn't mess with the high frequency detection here. So you can get different results with that. But this is the thing about different plugins is this is the same as if you were in the hardware world. You could have two exact compressors and they're going to react differently. As you can see, we were getting similar gain reduction, but the settings are different on each one of them. The Waves is more similar to the Cakewalk one, but you could see the UAD one is much different. But yeah, that's the thing is, even if you have two LA-2As in the real world, they're going to react different, and the attack and release is going to be a little bit different. So it's not always a exact comparison or very fair of a comparison. It's kind of an apples to oranges type of thing, even though it should be, you would think it's apples to apples. Oh, I hope that makes sense. But those of you guys that have worked on the real hardware, you would know what I'm talking about here. So I want to do one last thing. I want to come in here and I want to try out this fast reset. And let's check that out just to see how this compression reacts to that.
Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar. I love you so. Never let me go. Ooh, baby. Ooh, sugar.
Okay, so just real quick, that really to me brought the vocal forward actually, because it wasn't getting clamped down so much for as long. So that's always something you can experiment with. And cool thing about this, and what I'll probably use this version of the LA-2A for, is that you can activate the sidechain. So this is great for once again using it on a bass. Say your bass guitar and your kick drum are fighting a little bit. You could go in and activate the sidechain and have your kick drum trigger that, so that way every time the kick drum hits, the bass ducks a little bit. And I actually did a video on that called bass sidechaining or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact name, but you can check that out on my channel. So that's pretty much it for this plugin. This is kind of a long video for such a simple plugin, but I wanted to show you how it's stacked up against some of these more expensive plugins, and just show you that, you probably already have a lot of plugins in your folder, but you could go ahead and get one more just for the sake of having a different flavor of the LA-2A. Or if you don't have an LA-2A, this is a great introduction to it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from this. I hope that you can comment and let me know which of these compressors you like the best. I know that they're not perfectly level matched, they're not perfectly doing the same gain reduction, but like I said before, it's almost impossible to get that exactly dead on. So, thank you so very much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, you can give it a thumbs down. That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, as I always say. If you really like this, please subscribe. I would greatly, greatly appreciate that. Once again, thank you so very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful day.